It's Monday, April 18th, 2011. In this week's BeakerBeat, a face-off between Merck and J&J finally ends. See who came out on top coming up. Plus, see which powerful group is going after so-called overpaid executives. And it's not your dad's Tang, how space travel impacts pharma products. All that and more in this week's edition of BeakerBeat, brought to you by Daiichi Sankyo. To learn more about Daiichi Sankyo, visit their company webpage on Beaker.com. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of BeakerBeat. I'm Mike Justice, thanks for tuning in. It is our favorite time of the year. Not spring, Jeremy, get off the flowers. It's the hockey playoffs. Focus. Anyway, here's this week's top story. Much in the same way pro athletes and team owners use arbitrators to settle differences off the ice or field or what have you, Merck and Johnson & Johnson have settled their dispute over two blockbuster drugs with the help of arbitration. Merck, the second biggest U.S. drug maker, will split sales for the arthritis drug Remicade with J&J and will pay $500 million up front to end this ongoing battle. Merck will keep exclusive marketing rights in 70% of the areas where it now sells the drugs. The agreement also covers the arthritis medicine Simponi. Remicade had $7.32 billion in combined sales last year, making it the second biggest product for Merck and the top-selling drug for J&J. The dispute arose from Merck's merger with Schering-Plough, which had inked the original partnership with J&J. That agreement included a change in control provision stipulating the rights to Remicade and Simponi would revert to J&J if Schering were sold. J&J invoked that provision, bringing in the arbitrators. Now this fight, which started in 2009, was partly responsible for driving Merck shares down over the past year. Analysts now agree that Merck's share price should head north on this news. So tell us what you think about this story or any story that you see in today's show. It's very simple. Click on the orange button below me, a box will pop up. Type in your comments, send it to me. I promise I'll read and respond to every one of them. And this is really painful. I don't know how these guys play goalie for 60 minutes every night. Jeremy, help me up. I'm stuck. Get back here. Help me. And when you're done watching BeakerBeat, check out Beaker's blog and watch some must-see TV from CNBC. Valiant CEO J. Michael Pearson's interview on the bid to buy Cephalon takes an interesting turn. Check it out on Beaker's blog. Stephen Burrell and his respected life sciences investment firm has released their latest report on the industry, and it can be summed up in one word: failure. Burrell says drug makers' deal-making over the past 10 years has completely failed to build value in the industry, claiming Big Pharma has actually lost almost $1 trillion in value during that past decade. Now, in Burrell's estimation, major drug makers tried to grow by deal-making, but it was like using a spoon to shovel snow. Big Pharma wasn't delivering innovative products, and acquisitions couldn't make up for that. And now drug makers are watching their biggest products fall over the patent cliff and scrambling to replace the lost sales. Burrell said in a statement, quote, "If the industry is to return to the type of growth it once enjoyed, it must innovate its way out of its current predicament." Well said. Okay, time for some quick hits, and Jeremy, guess where you are? On the boards. The medical device industry is bringing in the big guns. Senator John Kerry, the Massachusetts Democrat and former presidential candidate, sent a letter to FDA Commissioner Dr. Margaret Hamburg. In the letter, Kerry says the Institute of Medicine panel reviewing the 510K process should include industry representation and that the proposed process changes may be, quote, unnecessarily burdensome and delay life-saving technology from coming to market, end quote. Now that Senator Kerry has weighed in, who's next? President Obama? Maybe. Or maybe Jimmy Carter will offer to build them a house. GSK will drop some consumer health brands, including beleaguered diet drug Ally, in a move that includes dumping at least 2 manufacturing plants now making the products. The 19 products to be sold include the headache powder Goodies, sleep aid Nitol, and stomach aid fighter Zantac OTC. They account for 10% of GSK's 2010 consumer sales, about $817 million worth. GSK aims to narrow its consumer business to its fast-growing priority brands and emerging market sales. After the sale, GSK's consumer business will be a triad of units: oral health, wellness OTC drugs, and nutrition. One group of overpaid people is going after another similar group. A public employees union has pharma CEO pay in its sights, calling on investors to vote against the pay packages awarded to Johnson & Johnson CEO William Weldon, Pfizer CEO Ian Reed, and ex-CEO Jeff Kindler. Pharmalot reports the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees and its 1.6 million members are part of pension funds worth $1 trillion combined. After lobbying for shareholders' rights to have a say on pay at public companies, the association is targeting people like J&J's Weldon, who has collected $194 million in pay over the past 9 years, while J&J's stock has declined 6% in that time. On behalf of my personal savings accounts, I wish them luck. Speaking of overpaid, Henry Termeer, the outgoing Genzyme CEO who is leaving with a severance deal worth about $200 million, yes, $200 million, has new plans that don't involve retirement.
He's staying in the biotech game as a new director of Aveo Pharmaceuticals. Just months ago, Aveo signed a $1.4 billion development and commercialization pact with Astellas, so Termir arrives at a critical juncture for the company. Plus, if they need some cash, well, he can help. More moldy odors for Johnson & Johnson. The company has recalled 57,000 bottles of the epilepsy drug Topamax after 4 consumers complained about the smell. This is the latest in a string of similar recalls for J&J. Former Intermune CEO Scott Harkonnen has been sentenced to 6 months of home confinement, 3 years probation, and will pay a $20,000 fine for his part in disseminating a misleading press release in 2002. Intermune settled the off-label marketing case for $36.9 million back in 2006. Harkonnen was convicted of wire fraud. The life sciences sector saw an increase in venture capital dollars invested during the first quarter of 2011, rising 16% to $1.4 billion. However, the number of deals dropped slightly to 164, according to a new Money Tree report released by PricewaterhouseCoopers, the NVCA, and Thomson Reuters. GlaxoSmithKline is one of 3 remaining bidders for the Turkish generics firm BioPharma. Bloomberg reports that GSK is competing with 2 other multinational companies, with a winner declared in the coming months. BioPharma is expected to fetch up to $700 million.
Time now for our final story of the day, but before we do that, Jeremy, you get a 4-minute major for sucking. In the box. Go. Terrible. And stay there. 4 minutes. Counting.
New research shows some drugs intended to treat minor illnesses in space may have shorter shelf lives there than they do on Earth. Pharmaceuticals used on space flights are packed and dispensed in special flight-certified containers and stored in compact flight kits. They may be exposed to the unique environmental factors of space missions, such as radiation and excessive vibration, in addition to variations in temperature and humidity. Scientists at the Johnson Space Center compared physical and chemical changes in 35 formulations contained in identical kits stowed on the International Space Station and on Earth. They found that a higher percentage of the meds from each flight kit had a lower active pharmaceutical content than the controls on the ground. Exposure to the chronic low dose of ionizing radiation, as well as repackaging of solid meds, may be contributing factors for pharma stability in space. And here you thought they only had Tang and freeze-dried ice cream in space.
Well, that's it for this week's edition of BeakerBeat. I'm Mike Justice. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. And good luck to your team in the playoffs. Jeremy, you still got 2 more minutes. What are you doing? Quit it. Big jerk. 2 more minutes. Sit, Beaker. Sit. Good dog.